Everybody's got a price, it's the $1 million man. Podcast in demand. Understand, everybody's got a price. $1 million man. Everybody's got a price. $1 million man. Everybody's got a pod, it's the $1 million man. Podcast in demand. Understand, everybody's got a price. $1 million man. Everybody's got a price.
What's up, everybody? It's Marcus D'Angelo, and we are back for another episode of Everybody's Got a Pod. And of course, I could never do it without the man himself, WWE Hall of Famer, legend, the $1 million man, Ted DiBiase. What's going on, Ted?
Marcus, it's you, buddy. I understand you're getting acquainted with the ring.
I am.
Yeah, maybe a little too acquainted.
They always say it's not ballet, and I certainly learned that lesson. Deep muscle contusion on me right now, a little kidney damage, but hey, brother, I'm getting through it, and I'm gonna heal up and right back into the ring. I'm not scared. Let's keep going. But man, it's what I'm really excited about talking about here is what we're doing today. It's the 14th edition of Ask Ted Anything, and as always, Ted, your listeners and your fans brought a ton of great questions. I want to remind folks that if they have a question, you can get it on the show by posting it to Ted's social media, or the easiest route might be to send me a DM on Twitter with any question or request you might have, which you can do right now at Marcus P. D'Angelo on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. As always, we'll continue to build these questions up and roll over the ones that we miss from episode to episode. And also, before we get into these great listener questions, you guys know the deal. I got to remind you to get over to our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/@everybody's-got-a-pod. Ted DiBiase's there, and Jim Duggan is there. And Jim and I just dropped a new episode last week, and it's all about Jim's time on Legend House, the WWE reality show where he was put into a house with a bunch of other legends and wound up having a little issue with Tony Atlas. And man, there's a lot of interesting stories to go along there, especially the stuff between him and Roddy Piper and how they became great friends. So you guys have got to check that episode out. Not to mention, Ted and I have YouTube exclusive clips on that channel and so much more. Seriously, if you want a little bite-sized version of what Ted and I do here, you've got to get over there and get subscribed. It's youtube.com/@everybody's-got-a-pod. So Ted, let's get into these questions. But before we do, I just mentioned Legend House there, and Jim Duggan was on it. Not sure if you ever caught any episodes. Did you ever watch WWE Legends House?
I might have watched it a time or two, but I mean, I didn't catch it. I catch all of it or most of it,
Well, I've got to ask Ted. Oh, go ahead.
I would just talk to Duggan and go, "What's going on?"
If you had been asked to be on the show, Legends House, and live with these guys for, I think they were there for something like, 5-6 weeks, something like that. Would you have done it?
No. There's
no amount of money to get you to stay in a house with a bunch of legends.
And most all of those guys, there's I can't think of any one person that I would say that I absolutely, hated.
Let me run down some of the names. There's Pat Patterson in there, Tony Atlas, Jimmy Hart, Roddy Piper, Hillbilly Jim, Howard Finkel, and Mean Gene Okerlund. All those guys move into the house. Jim Duggan's in that mix as well. And they've got like activities, and they're spending all their time around each other and stuff like that. Now, on the surface, Ted, anybody there, any of those names, do you see yourself having an issue with any of them if you had to live with them for a prolonged period?
Nope.
Well, did you know about the issue between Jim Duggan and Tony Atlas on that show?
I remember they had an issue, but I mean, it was so long ago, I can't remember what it was about. And the other thing is, I know both those guys, and Jim's a real easy guy to get along with. And Tony Atlas, by all means, in my opinion, is also somebody who's not hard to get along with.
And those two just clashed, and apparently a lot of people ended up having issues with Tony just because he's kind of a peculiar guy at times, and I think that he got on some folks' nerves. But him and Jim, man, there was one instance where it came very close to those two actually having a fist fight. And this is 10 years ago, so they're in their like maybe late 50s, early 60s, something like that, and those two were both ready to throw down. So it's even at their age now, it's they'd break a lot of furniture if they got into it.
Yeah. Well, no, hey, but and I don't know how. Tony's always had a great body and everything, and I have never had any reason not to get along with him. But I also know that Jim Duggan is one tough SOB.
Yes, he is.
And, it's kind of like if I had to choose between Jim Duggan and just about anybody else to walk down a dark alley at night, and I could only have one guy on my side, I would pick Jim.
We're talking about a guy who's the former New York State heavyweight wrestling champion in high school. Like the Jim Duggan, he plays the tough guy on TV and he's a brawler and all that stuff. But like, if push comes to shove, that guy will stretch you.
Oh yeah, he's legit.
Yep, nobody to mess around with. And I just wanted your perspective on Legends House. It was always such an interesting show. And the thought of you being on that show, now that I've gotten to know you, I'm like, boy, I wonder how Ted would have done under the circumstances.
I don't know. When I heard about it, I don't even know if they even offered it to me. But if they had, I don't think I'd have done it. I mean, oh my gosh.
5 weeks away from wife and children, and then that on top of, hey, all these guys that you like and have a good relationship with, how about you spend 24 hours a day around them? It's I don't know, might not work out. But okay, let's go ahead and get into these questions. We got some great ones. I'll get to as many as I can, folks. Again, I will roll them over episode to episode, so don't be bummed out if I missed yours. It might just be on the next one. David Napier is up next. You had the black and gold, also green and silver suits. What was your favorite? Which was your favorite one to wear, Ted?
Oh my gosh. I think the black and gold, I think that's the one that I like actually. And that's the one that in the picture behind me that I'm wearing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And, yeah, but I did. I had a silver one. I wasn't too crazy about the silver suit. I tell you one that I had made. It was white and gold, and I think that's what I wore at at SummerSlam in Wembley Stadium.
Yes.
And but I wore it a few times, and then it was kind of like. Personally, I thought it was great. It looked really good, but I'm a heel.
You can't be wearing white. Yeah.
Bad guys don't wear white.
I think that your black suit is probably your most iconic look. Like when people think of the $1 Million Man, I think that that's what they think of is you in that black and gold suit. So
yeah, and most of the like the action figures that they have made. That's the suit I'm wearing.
Yeah, me personally, I think your green suit is my favorite. I just like the way it looked on camera. I thought it was just like a cool look, and yeah, it's I got to put the green suit first for me. Now, if I remember right, you still own the white suit, and could anybody tempt you to sell that suit?
No,
never. You'll never part with it.
No, my wife would. Of course, it is said that everybody has a price, but.
I'm sure if somebody came along offering millions.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like my wife basically said, "Honey, you don't, okay, she gets it, but you got to keep some stuff, and I agree. I agree with her."
You and I have talked about this before. What other stuff do you still have?
I don't know. I mean, I think I found one of those black gloves somewhere.
How cool!
But I don't have a lot. I mean, I may have a boot or two, an old pair of boots, but just not a whole lot.
Recently I saw a picture of you, and I'll have to share it on social media, but I saw a picture of you from 1997 when you won, I think it was the PWI Manager of the Year that year. And it's this picture of you and you're holding a little plaque. And I was like, I wonder if Ted still has that plaque. Any chance you still have the PWI Manager of the Year plaque?
I don't know. Yeah, I've got plaques up in my room in my office here right now, and I don't know Um, now I've got this. There's one over here. It's a picture of me wearing the what originally they called it the North American Heavyweight title.
Yeah.
First went to New York,
Yeah.
and then I told them, I said, Bill Watts' champion is the North American champion. And then I dropped the belt to Pat Patterson, and they renamed it the Intercontinental Champion.
That's right. But the story always went that he won it in Rio de Janeiro, which is false.
Yeah.
I think that was just their way of transitioning.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what belt I'm wearing, but I'm wearing one of my old jackets. I'm very young, brown hair. It says, $1 million of talent and charisma. DiBiase was an exciting superstar before WWE ever came calling. And I don't know, I can't remember where that's from.
Ted, one of these days I'm going to find myself in Mississippi, and I'm going to come and have a look at all the awesome stuff in your office. That would make for a hell of a YouTube video.
I've even got I'm not a collector, but I have a picture of Muhammad Ali in his tights and his gloves and an autograph. How about that?
That is awesome.
Yeah, and somewhere I've got a Mickey Mantle baseball.
Oh my gosh, what a collector's
Yeah,
item!
I went to a celebrity golf tournament, and actually that tournament was in his name. They of course they have a lot of celebrities, so like all of like the guys that go out and play in the tournament, and they're all fundraisers. Each group would have a celebrity. I had a baseball, and we were just sitting around or something, and I just asked him if he would sign it for me, and he did.
Incredible, man. Mickey Mantle autograph. I mean, that's about as good as it gets. Next up, we've got JC Tapaldis, who asks, we've been through the styles of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s and so on. Where do you see wrestling going? Do you believe that WWE will always be the top dog in wrestling?
It's kind of like, in terms of wrestling and coming from the era that I came from, which many fans have said was, and again, this is not me talking, this is the things I hear from the fans. He said, you guys who wrestled from the mid 80s to the mid 90s were the last great era of wrestling. And I have to somewhat agree, because, it's kind of like wrestling has always been, when you walk into a movie, it's a movie. When you walk into a wrestling match, it's a show you're seeing. But if the people in that ring are really good at what they're doing, they can draw you into their story. Okay. And for example, I mean, I've been smart to the wrestling business since I was in the 6th grade. And I used to watch, like, when I graduated from high school and went back, and I was playing football at West Texas State, but I would always go to the wrestling matches on Thursday night when I could, and watch Terry Funk, Dory Funk Jr., and others that were really good at what they did. And I would get drawn into the story. I'm watching this, and I know it's a show. And I guess it's the same thing when you watch a movie. It's a movie, but if the actors are really good, you get drawn into the story they're telling. Well, what's missing, in my opinion, in wrestling today is the story. I see guys get in the ring, and they take all these bumps and flip flop and fly. And it's, it's, the match is over in like 5 minutes, 7 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. And it's just two guys out there beating each other up. Instead, get out there and grab a headlock. If you ever watched real wrestling, it's like, it's all on the mat. and there's no ropes. and anyway, like I used to, like the old school man, I'd grab an arm and I'd work that arm, and we might do something in a spot or something, and I'd get back on that arm, and then maybe the tide would turn, and I would start getting beat on, and but then every chance I got, I'd go back to that arm. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because the people remember that I had weakened that guy's arm. So instead of going back and hitting him in the head, I went back and I worked the arm. I guess that's the best explanation I think I can give. But
well, it makes sense. If you were in a fight and you thought that somebody had a handicap, if you were in an actual fist fight and somebody was favoring their arm, you'd say to yourself, well, if I want to win this fight, I should probably target that arm. And it's an underhanded thing to do, and it's maybe not, the right way to approach a fist fight.
Well, and again, things like, and I've seen guys do this. I've seen somebody, have a guy in the corner and grab him by the hair of his head and run him all the way across the ring into the turnbuckle on the opposite side. Mm-hmm. Now, do you think for a minute, if you were in a real fight on the street and you grabbed a guy by the hair, that you could run him across the street by his hair into a light post?
No.
Hell no. You might pull his hair out, but he ain't going. I mean, but now, okay, now same thing. You're in the corner, and maybe a guy, because I used to, I'd stagger over to the corner, and I'm right there, and you grab him by the hair, but the turnbuckle's right there, and you go bam. That's believable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to say, is that the believability factor in wrestling, in my opinion, for the most part. I mean, there's a few exceptions, but I just, that's my beef with wrestling today. It just, and I hear it from the fans too. So, and guess what? You got a bunch of fans watching. I'd like for you fans who are watching this to write in and tell me or Marcus what you think.
Ted, this conversation has given me a fun idea, and it's something, I don't know if you're going to be game for it or not, so we'll find out right here on the show. How would you feel about one of these nights watching AEW whenever it comes on? It comes on Wednesday nights. How would you feel about watching AEW, even like the first hour of the show, whatever, and then you and I discuss it, and you can tell me what stuck out to you, what people are doing wrong or right? I don't know. How would you feel about doing something like that?
Yeah, we could probably do something like that.
Yeah, I would love to hear your perspective, because it's a weird time in wrestling. If folks nowadays, the athleticism is unparalleled. You've never seen anything like it. There's this guy right now, you and I have talked about him before. His name is Will Ospreay, and he's largely considered the best wrestler on the face of the planet right now. And brother, he does stuff that it doesn't look like it's possible for a human to do out there. But does he sell enough? I don't think so. And so it's a weird line.
Okay, and that's my point. You see these guys go out there and do all of these spectacular moves, and then it's kind of like I think I saw somebody do like was it almost like a 1.5 off the top rope and land on a guy, like. And I don't think I would ever lay on the mat and let a guy do a 1.5 off the top rope and land on me, because his momentum is going, and that could hurt you. But anyway, things like that, it's, make it believable. That's the whole thing, is make it believable. So.
Maybe we'll narrow down this tape study, because 35 years ago, 1989, according to The Observer and according to me, a guy who was watching it at the time, you were the best wrestler on the face of the planet. Dave Meltzer views it that way. I certainly viewed it that way. Your technical in-ring ability was unparalleled. Right now, 35 years later, Will Ospreay has that distinction. So maybe we'll focus in and watch Will Ospreay. We'll maybe watch a match or two of his. I'll send them to you, and then you and I can do kind of a Will Ospreay tape study sometime here on the show this year. I think that would be fun.
Cool.
Cool. All right. I love this idea. We're going to do
All
it,
right.
folks. Okay, guys, let's take a quick break to talk about taking care of some serious business. And I'm talking about taking care of business in the bedroom. And if you're trying to take care of business, you need to try BlueChew. Guys, let's just take a minute to talk about sex. You remember back in the day when you were always ready to go? Well, with a little help from BlueChew, you can get that thing so hard you can take it hunting. It's going to help increase your performance and regain that old confidence in bed. BlueChew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready when the opportunity arises. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. And you want to know the best part? It's all done online. No awkward visits to the doctor's office, no weird conversations, no waiting in line at the pharmacy anymore. BlueChew's tablets are made right here in the USA and prepared and shipped direct to your door in a discreet package, but of course there will be nothing discreet about your package. Look, guys, I ordinarily like to try things before I make any kind of a commitment, because you want to find out, is this actually going to work? Will it work for me? Well, that's got to be the best part of this whole thing. With our deal, you can try it for a month for free. All you have to do is pay $5 shipping. This whole time, you and your partner may have been having the best sex of your whole life and been missing out on it without even knowing. So why not just give BlueChew a shot? Just find out. When you can get it for a month for free with only $5 shipping, it's silly not to just give it a try. Women are attracted to confidence, and BlueChew can help to give you confidence where it counts the very most. Don't wait any longer. Let's chew it and do it. Take advantage of our special deal. Again, you can try BlueChew free when you use our promo code EGAP at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code EGAP, and receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank BlueChew for sponsoring the podcast. All right, Jason Marical, I think it might be how you say it. Whoever they are. Jason asks, during the first few years as $1 Million Man, was the lighter colored hair your idea, Vince's idea, someone else's idea, or all natural? Definitely looked good. I was always curious about the inspiration. Ted, why'd you go blonde there for a few years?
Well, it wasn't totally blonde. It was, what do you say? It's kind
Dirty
of
blonde.
Dirty blonde. And it was my wife's idea.
Really?
Yeah. She said, I like it. And you look more handsome. And I said, okay. So
I thought it was a cool look too.
I was pleased with her.
And if I remember right, you started that look while you were still with the UWF before you ever even came to the WWF. So it wasn't $1 Million Man idea. I think it was just
it
in 87.
Yeah.
It was a cool look, and I'm curious though, what made you depart from it?
Well, you get older, you get out of the business, and it's kind of like this is the real me, and I don't know.
Probably not great for your hair either, and probably annoying to have to go and get it, dyed consistently.
Yeah, I have wondered though. I mean, because I've had a lot of people tell me. Of course, my hairline is going back, and but if I parted my hair like I used to in the middle, and I could do that, but a lot of people I just had a lot of people say that I don't look like I'm 70 years old.
You do not.
And I don't know. A lot of that is just good genetics, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a lot of, I haven't become the wrinkled up guy yet. So I don't know. Who knows? It's like the one thing I can guarantee you was whether I could put one of those suits on again and climb in the ring. You ain't going to see no match.
That reminds me, Ted, you told me before that you were getting back in the gym a little bit and doing a lot of walking and trying to shake off a couple pounds. How's the diet going? And do you think you could fit into one of those suits again?
I don't think I could ever fit into one of those suits again. And for me to get into one of those suits again, I would probably have to drop down to 260 pounds and that was my in shape weight was 260, and golly, I'm close to 300 pounds now.
Man, so
And
one more time.
again, people look at me and they go, "You don't look that heavy." Well, I don't know. Maybe that's because some of the muscle weighs more than fat.
I mean, that's it. And I think people forget you're also a really big man. You're 6'4", 6'5", something like that. So it's, I mean, for you to weigh that much, probably fit your frame well.
I was 6'4", and the other thing that happens to you as you get older is that you actually shrink.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm only 6'2" now, so.
Well, gravity's a real bitch, but at least you still look good and you don't look sad.
Well, for an old fart, I'm not too bad, I guess. So.
Griff Morgan asks, the $1 Million Dream finisher was a chokehold to win by knockout, which was like that arm drop thing that the referees would do. Do you ever wish that you had just a straight up submission finisher where the guy would like tap out?
The $1 Million Dream is not a chokehold.
It's not.
No.
What would you call it?
No, it's because this arm is up here, and I'm holding like if I put the hold on somebody, my right hand would be a hold of his left wrist, and it would be up here like this, and then I don't know, but there's no way in hell that it's a chokehold.
It's more of a blood flow restriction hold, right? With the kayfabe idea being that you're cutting off the jugular, which then makes him pass out.
Yeah.
But do you ever wish that you, instead of having a finish where the guy passed out, you had something where the guy would tap out? Doesn't really make a difference, right?
Well, I mean, technically speaking, if I put somebody in the $1 Million Dream, and they feel like they were going out, they could tap out if they wanted to, but
if they didn't want to pass out, which a lot of people, you'll see that in the
and
UFC.
A lot of times I would get guys in that hold and they would get to the rope or something would happen. I wouldn't get it all the way on, so.
Ted, I'm curious now. For years, if I recall right, you were using the power slam as your finisher. And it was, by the way, if you haven't seen Ted do the power slam, it's a real thing of beauty. You'd catch the guy coming off the ropes just right and plan him. Why did you switch to the $1 Million Dream from the power slam?
Because it was something I could do to anybody. There's no way in hell I could power slam Andre the Giant or any one of a number of other guys that were, big 300, 400 pound guys. So, it's kind of like I wanted to go to something that I could do with anybody.
Now, I know that you weren't wearing a black glove by the time you got to the WWF, but the thing that you used as your heel finish for a long time was you'd load the glove and punch the guy out. I mean, was there ever a thought of, using brass knucks or something like that consistently as your finish to defeat people?
No. I mean, the whole deal with the loaded glove is the anticipation. It's like, I would always do something where whoever I was wrestling was either down or what, or the referee was somehow not looking at me, and I could go in the tights, and and then I would always put it way up here over my head so everybody could see what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like always loading the gloves, and then there have been times when I've had the glove loaded and and I go to throw the shot and the shot gets blocked and bang 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 and I get beat.
Yep.
So anyway.
So without the glove, it's hard to tell that same story, and you wouldn't have the glove as the $1 Million Man, obviously.
Yeah.
Man, it would have been fun to see Black Glove Ted in the WWF.
Yeah.
Ted, here's one that I think you've answered here on the show before, but I don't recall your answer, so let's try it again. Eric Wallace asks, if you could wrestle any modern day wrestler, who would you wrestle?
It's hard for me to answer that question because, quite frankly, I don't watch enough wrestling anymore to have an opinion. Um, Gosh, okay, probably Cody Rhodes
Ah, great one.
because Cody has matured. There's a guy who can work now, and you know why he can work? Because of where he came from.
Yep.
And he learned a lot, just like I did from watching my father, and he learned a lot from watching his dad. Heck, I learned a lot from watching his dad. I mean, I remember I was still in college the first time I met Dusty, and Dick Murdoch had been a tag team, and but I mean, Dusty was just great. I mean, he could do it in the ring, and he could do it on the microphone. He could do it all. He was really, really great, and so much admired.
And so Cody is your choice, and I'm hard to blame you, man. For my money, I think Cody's the best modern day wrestler because he's like Randy Orton in that I feel like he's one of those guys that you can take and put him into 80s wrestling, 70s wrestling, 90s wrestling, doesn't matter. He'll fit in and he'll do well.
And once again, you've just named a wrestler's kid, Randy Orton. Randy's another guy who, like me, grew up in the business. His father was a wrestler, and his father was very good, and he's very good. I mean, I guess maybe I would even put Randy in that. I'd love to wrestle him too if I could.
One guy who's not a wrestler's kid, at least I don't think so, not to my knowledge. I don't know who his parents are. And I'm not even sure if you're familiar with him. Cesaro, Claudio Castagnoli. Do you remember Cesaro in the WWE?
No.
He's another one that we're gonna have to do a tape study with because, brother, this guy.
I've never even heard of him.
Really?
What was his name?
So in WWE, it was Cesaro.
Cesaro.
But right now, he's going by his shoot name. He's with AEW, and his shoot name is Claudio Castagnoli, and he's from Sweden. But man, let me say, this guy, unbelievably strong, unbelievably polished in the ring, and like he does a European uppercut where the guy's coming off the rope, he'll pop the guy way up in the air, and he's so strong, he'll pop the guy really high in the air, and he'll catch him with a European uppercut on the way down, and it looks absolutely devastating.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch it.
There we go.
Like I said, it's like I'm not. I'm not. Oh my gosh! I gotta get TV on. It's Monday Night Raw. Monday Night what?
All right, you and I are gonna do our own private tape study, and then we can talk about it. It's coming soon, folks. All right, I'm pretty sure I can say this name correctly. Sandalphon Frostburn asks, what's your opinion of Rick Martel and the model gimmick?
Oh gosh, I thought Rick was a heck of a worker, and I don't know. I mean, the model was. Who am I to say? I don't know if it was even if it was his idea.
No, probably not.
But all I know is that Rick Martel, the wrestler, was a hell of a wrestler. I mean, everybody's had a gimmick of some kind, and that, it's like maybe that fit him because he's a good looking guy.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I think that was it too. Yeah, he was a handsome guy, but really he had a great lineage in wrestling and had been wrestling since he was a really, really young man. I want to say he started wrestling when he was like 14 or 15. So he'd been wrestling for years and years and years. And I mean, the stuff that he did in WWE, it's he again, much like yourself, Jake Hacksaw, became a part of pop culture with his arrogant spray and this character. So an over the top character to be sure, but kind of suited him well. And man, what a good way to get heat.
Yeah, well, and that's it. That's the deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like I tell everybody. I said, because some people tell me, "Oh, we loved you, Ted." I said, "You loved me? What's wrong with you? You were supposed to hate me." They like all the bad guys.
All right. Next up, we've got Garrett Habers, who asks, "Who does Ted think is the biggest star in wrestling history?" So, boy, that covers a lot of ground, Ted. Yeah, anybody jump to mind for you?
Oh my gosh. The biggest star ever. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that I could condense it down to one. That I could say that there was one wrestler who just beat them all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, yeah, and again, there's so many different. Yeah, it's kind of like, oh gosh, you look at that and go, okay, if he was a bad guy, why was he a bad guy, and why did everybody hate him? Or if he was a good guy, it's like, so is there I don't know. That's I have to think about that. I'll be honest with you.
When it comes to the biggest star, I think there's categories, right? Because it's like, okay, is the biggest star the guy who made the most money in wrestling? There's an argument to be made for that, right? So that would be, I don't know, The Rock or Stone Cold or Hulk Hogan, right? Those guys probably made more money than anybody ever in the history of the business. Or is it like the greatest wrestler as in pop culture icon? Because an argument could be made, okay, again, Hogan. What about Andre the Giant? I mean, he's become a pop culture icon.
Yeah.
So there's like so many different directions you can kind of move in.
And I would even go as far as to say it's like The Rock. The Rock has become such a big star, but he's a big star now because he's a movie star.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know that The Rock was as big a wrestling star as he is a movie star.
Right now, he's one of the biggest movie stars on the face of the planet, one of the most recognized figures. And so, no,
deservedly so.
He is certainly a bigger Hollywood figure than he ever was a wrestling figure. But he was a huge wrestling figure, too, which was his foot in the door in Hollywood. So I don't know. That's a weird one. Let me simplify it a little bit, Ted, and then we can move on. All right, bigger star to you, Hulk Hogan or Stone Cold Steve Austin? I know. Tough one.
It's almost like a toss-up because Hulk Hogan was the first, over the top, like Vince McMahon made guy.
Mm-hmm.
And the big hero, Hulk Hogan. Right?
Yes.
And Stone Cold. And, I was there. I mean, they put me with him at the time. Of course, this is when nobody knew him. They put him with me because my power as a draw or as a celebrity or as a wrestler or whatever, it's kind of like we call it the rub, putting with somebody that's going to help elevate him faster. And, and I saw his talent early. I said, this guy's going to go places, but I had no idea that he would go as big as he went. And, again, there's an argument there, but it's a different, there's just so many variations, it's kind of like, I can't say that he's a bigger star than Hulk Hogan, but he's as big a star as Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, I'm with you. A real toss-up. I would almost lean toward Hogan just because it's like he was literally everywhere around like 1988, 86, that kind of era where it's like he was on cartoons, he was on lunchboxes. Like you couldn't turn on the TV without seeing Hulk Hogan's face. So I would kind of lean toward Hulk Hogan between the two of them. But honestly, it's really hard to pick. All right, Ted, let's do one more and then we'll wrap this one up. Aaron Feeney asks, Ted, it's awesome to see you as part of the One True Sport Network. Thank you for the shout out, Aaron. With Magnum TA, can you tell us about the experiences around Magnum and if you thought he'd be a huge star?
Oh, wow. Gosh. I'm trying to think where I first saw Magnum. I think he came to work for Bill Watts,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not mistaken, and that while I was there.
Around 1984, while you were in Georgia, he had become the North American champion under Watts, and a big star. So I believe that whenever you would jump ship
Yeah,
from
but
Georgia to
when he
Mid-South, he was
first
there.
came in, I was still working for Watts. But then I went back to Atlanta. I went back to Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
and I could see his. I could see I could see the potential in him when he first arrived on the scene, again, I had no idea. It's kind of like I look at guys and go, yeah, man, they have the potential to really go and make good, but but you just don't ever know just how big they're going to get, and a lot of that is based on decisions they make as well.
Yes.
And maybe if I had made this decision, or this decision. So
Now, obviously, a tragedy befell Magnum TA in 1986, and he would crash that Porsche, and it would end his in-ring career and this run that he was on. And a lot of people say that he could have been the Hulk Hogan type figure, Stone Cold Steve Austin type figure, where his star was so on the rise, and he was becoming better in the ring, and all the pieces were kind of coming together.
yeah,
What do you think, Ted? Do you think that Magnum had that potential to be like one of those kind of
I do.
generational talents?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and it certainly was a tragedy. And you know what? In spite of that tragedy, he's made the best of his life. And to this day, he's a good guy. I see him from time to time when I go to like a Comic-Con and there's a bunch of wrestlers and he's one of them. I always go say hello to him. He's a good guy.
Man, I love Magnum TA. He does a podcast right now with my brother Dominic called Straight Talk with the Boss, and Greg Gagne is part of that podcast as well. And they are part of the One True Sport Network here with Ted and I. So if you have not listened to that podcast, please go out of your way to do so because it's a great one. That is going to wrap us up for this week, Ted. Speaking of One True Sport, got to remind everybody, get over to OneTrueSportTV.com. It's our YouTube page, but really, you've got to check out the membership on that YouTube page. There's 3 different tiers. There's all kinds of perks, including some interactive experiences with Ted and Jake and so many others that are part of the network. So by all means, get over there and check your options out. Also, if you're watching here on YouTube, you can see up in the corner right above my head, we've got some T-shirts, and that is Ted's T-shirt. There's another one actually being loaded up right now as we speak. I was on the phone with the merch girl earlier today. So we've got another Ted DiBiase T-shirt coming, and the place to get those Roots of Fight style, cool throwback looking T-shirts for Ted and Jake and so many others is OneTrueSport.com. So the memberships live at OneTrueSportTV.com. If you want some cool, amazing merch at a good price for some great materials, it's OneTrueSport.com. Go out of your way to check it out, and go out of your way to check us out again next week. Ted, I love doing these Ask Ted Anything because you just never know what direction we're going to go in.
I know. That's cool. Yeah.
And next week, I'm going to be looking forward to it because you and I are going to be talking about NXT 3 years ago and what you did with LA Knight and Cameron Grimes and the final bump of your career. Maybe, I don't know, you might still get back into the ring.
Hey, it may not be the final bump of my career. You know why?
You just never know.
You know why?
Why is that?
Everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
We're not going to beat it, folks. We'll catch you next time right here on Everybody's Got a Pod.